Okay. All right. We are live. So let me see if we can start getting some attendees. We got a couple of folks in. And as people come in, hello, everybody. We're getting ready to start the webinar. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes to let people sort of come in. I hope everybody's having a really good week. The weather has been slightly strange all over the place. So, but I hope everyone is keeping together, keeping their sense of humor, because I think that's the only thing that's going to get any of us through at this point. So, yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes. So, Mark, you're in Ohio. You got snow on the ground right now?
Well, depending on where you're at, about an inch and a half in spots. The temperatures got up into the low mid 30s. Sun's out, so most of it's melted away. But I think we got some coming, maybe next week. I know we got big time cold coming. So it melts, it freezes, it melts, it freezes.
Yeah, that's kind of how we've been. I'm up in the north, in the Pacific Northwest, and we get an inch or two on the ground, and then it gets warm, and then it freezes. Then you get a layer of ice on top of everything. It's been really weird. It's been a very mild winter yet. So I would actually like some snow. I would like a good 2 feet on the ground would make me actually pretty happy right now, because then at least I feel okay for being stuck in the house. If it's winter and there's snow on the ground, it seems to make it less onerous to be trapped in the house doing stuff there. So, hello, everybody. I know we're just chatting about the weather. I'm sort of giving everybody a few minutes to come in, and we've got a really great presentation today with Mark Ogg, who is an ex-CSINext president and also a good friend of mine. And he's got some really interesting things to tell us about gamification and what stuff is going on. So I'm just going to give it till about 5 after before I kick off the webinar. So bear with me, and I will be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A during the presentation. So if you have questions or anything like that for Mark, throw them in the Q&A. I'll read them out. We're going to try to, and I like to do the questions during. Mark's agreed with that because it sort of keeps us in the flow. So meanwhile, I hope everybody is having a great week out there. And yeah, so I'll give it 2 more minutes. Can you unmute me? Yes, Lee, I think I can unmute you. Try it, Lee. I think you're unmuted.
Okay. Hey, so this presentation, now that I'm fully understanding exactly what it's about, my company just hired a new training manager. I'm going to see if he can join. Would that be okay?
Sure, absolutely. The more the merrier. Yeah, go grab him. That's this is the kind of thing that he should be listening to. So
okay,
please,
and if I
the more the merrier.
If I don't, he shows that he's in a meeting, but if I don't get him, you're recording it? Could he see it later?
We are recording it, and I think we can arrange that to help you out, Lee.
I'm more than happy to talk to you guys outside of here too. So
okay, I'll just tell him that. I'll tell him that.
Yeah, I mean either way. So
okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to mute you again, Lee.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I wish there was a way to do all the little trainings and stuff that I always had to do in offices there's a way to make those more interesting. All I know is I used to have to sit there in front of the computer and watch these videos of talking heads. And,
Yeah.
and then if for some reason it didn't log that you'd actually done it, you had to do it again. Trying to get it to, I remember one that I had to do, the last company I was at, I had to do it like 5 times. And I finally called HR and I said, look, I've watched this 5
Not
times.
doing
I
this
printed
anymore.
out the certificate. I can email you the 5 certificates of the 5 days I watched it. It just won't register the thing. Please don't make me do it again. And so yeah, she said, okay, yeah, just email me the certificate and I'll go ahead and mark you off. But it was just like, I couldn't, computers are great, but they're not foolproof by any means. And well, it is 5 after, so I think we're gonna kind of jump into this, and hopefully anybody else will just join us. We've got a dozen people here, which is great. Everybody, welcome very much to our February meeting of CSINext. Our topic today is gamification in construction, transcending the way the industry motivates, operates, and trains workers, which you can all read on the screen right there. Our presenter is going to be Mark Ogg, who is an ex-CSINext president and also a good friend of mine. And he's going to give you all, he's going to tell you where he's coming from and all his experience and all that stuff, all his good special credential. Yeah, that's all right. Before I make it any worse than it is, Mark, why don't you take it away? Okay. Oh, by the way, if you have any, one last thing to everybody, or 2 last things. At the end of the presentation, it's going to come up with a survey. Take the survey if you want to get your AIA credit hour for this. And also, if you have any questions or comments or anything that comes up during the program, throw it into the chat, throw it into the Q&A, and I will read it out to Mark and we can get your questions answered. So that being said, Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Catherine. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My name is Mark Ogg. As Catherine mentioned, I'm a former president of the CSINext chapter, currently the secretary, as well as a CSI member, and I'm a senior project manager with Jones Lang LaSalle, based out of Chicago, and I'm currently a senior PM on the Procter & Gamble account here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This was, originally I presented this at Construct in National Harbor, Maryland in 2019. I've updated it a little bit since then. So if some of you have seen this before, welcome to the second version. Others that have not, hopefully you'll take a little bit away from this on how gamification is evolving in our industry, providing motivational tools, operational tools, and training tools. Hopefully I can get all my clicks going in the right way here. Here we go. Some continuing education stuff. This has been registered for learning units. I won't read through all this stuff here, but you should, I believe, Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you need an AIA certificate or confirmation, I believe you can put your information in on the survey at the end of this. If not, please get in touch with the chapter and we will help you get that taken care of. Yes,
that is absolutely what they do. Okay. When the survey comes up, make sure it's got their AIA number, and we will get your AIA number, your AIA credit self-reported. Everything else, unfortunately, is self-report. So.
Yep. And a bonus to this, Catherine, is we are not doing this at 7:45 on a Friday morning like we were in Maryland.
Thank you.
Okay.
Which I appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. So a little bit of professional background on myself. I've been in construction, project management, and consulting for about 26 years now. I have worked in commercial, industrial, life sciences, research and development, and manufacturing markets. I have a bachelor's of construction management from University of Cincinnati a very long time ago, and recently just completed my master's in construction management from Western Carolina in May of 2020. Professionally, I'm affiliated with CSI, Project Management Institute, the Association for Advancement of Cost Engineering, CSINext chapter itself, and as well as the CSI Academics Programs Committee. And currently this year, I am on the certification committee as well. Professional credentials, I have my CCCA and CDT through CSI. I have my PMP, and I have my both my 30-hour construction and general industry OSHA certifications. So that's a little bit about me. What we're going to talk about and learn here today, everybody enjoys games, some form or fashion. We've got, Words with Friends, Candy Crush, Homescapes, Yahtzee. We could just go on, and they provide a natural challenge, a sense of competition, a sense of achievement, and as you do better in your games, there's rewards, winners, runners up, additional levels, prizes, etc., etc. And the concept of gamification allows people to make use of gaming elements, those elements, those challenges, the competition, the achievements, the rewards, all of those elements in their daily work. And by applying the concept, the fun of games into everyday practices, gamification is providing a cutting edge platform for organizations to engage with and motivate their employees. And I'd like to focus on those last few words there: engage with and motivate their employees. That is a very key thing in making employees and organizations very successful. So we're going to learn about today, we're going to learn about the concept and the elements of gamification. We're going to learn how gamification is transcending the industry through use of
you're getting a little bit of feedback, Mark.
Industry operations and industry training, and upon motivation. Yep.
Mark, your sound is breaking up a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me now? I had a slight blip.
Yeah, you're better now.
Okay. I'll try not to stand in front of my speaker too. So upon completion.
Yeah, you were getting feedback, so.
Okay. We're going to be able to define the concept and key principles of gamification. We're going to recognize some basic theories of motivation, and we're going to identify how gamification itself can positively impact morale, productivity, and work practices. And then we'll also discuss some current industry applications and the impacts that have occurred on a couple of actual case studies. So the history of gamification, where does gamification come from, and how did I come across this topic? Well, I came across this topic when I was completing my graduate studies last year. This was one of the topics that we discussed in our executive leadership class. And gamification stretches all industries, but it was a topic of gamification specifically to construction and how we use these elements within the industry to motivate people and help them become better. I personally thought when we started talking about games, I thought we're going to talk about the games of the construction and architecture industry. And I thought, man, I've got this thing licked, because I think we've all been around a long time. We know some of the crazy stuff that happens in this industry. But what I found out was it was not anything like that at all. So gamification really started back in the 70s and the 80s with the video games. I think back in the 70s, we had the Pong, you had the bars going across the string and the little dot going back and forth, and you played ping pong. And then, the 80s and 90s hit, and we had the arcade game craze back in the 80s. You had Pac-Man and Pole Position and all kinds of different video games, Cubert, all those things. The 90s started to get into some technology. We had the internet come on board. So there were some applications there. And in 2000s, you know, we've got all this smart technology coming through now where, you know, basically our lives are contained within a phone or an iPad or something that we pretty much carry with us all the time. People are drawn to games, one, because they're fun. They provide a natural sense of motivation. You as you go through a game, you don't win a level, you want to go back and try again. So it just has a natural sense of making you want to do better. Competition. You can be in team competition. You can be in competition against the computer, a spouse, a friend. But they provide that natural sense of just competition and wanting to be better, wanting to beat the other people. And then gamification itself centers around harnessing that motivation and transferring it into a non-gaming environment, which is our industry. So gamification itself has several elements, and we're going to touch on each one of those. There's 7 elements. We have points, badges, leaderboards, graphs, stories, avatars, and teammates. Those are the 7 elements that you will find in just about every type of game or game application that there is in some format. Now, do we have to have all 7 elements of these? No, it's very objective dependent. You don't need all of them. You need at least one of them, but you don't need all of them. And the key is using these elements to provide measurable results and feedback. That is a key outcome of gamification. You want people to be able to see how they are doing. You want them to see how they're doing compared to others. Let's talk about a little bit each one of these elements. The first one, we got points. They serve as a type of reward. You know, the more points you get, the better off you will do. They act as a mechanism to gauge success. So you can look at competitors that have more points than you, or you may have more points than your competitors. You can look at these points and you can see exactly where you stand at any point in time. So we have numbers, we have experience points, we have redeemable points for different prizes and different attributes. And their purpose is when you look at something that is judged on points or numbers, your feedback is instant. You know right then and there where you stand in that current situation. The next element we have is badges, and similar to the points, they serve as a type of reward. But instead of being numerical, they're graphical. And examples of badges, let's think about CSI. When you see badges, we see them at Construct with the ribbons, the different accomplishments that members of the convention have accomplished. You know, your CDT and your CCCA and your CCPR and CCCS. And within the last couple of years, CSI has come out with their little electronic badges that you can also have on your profile on the Institute website. And as you accomplish these, you can add these to your portfolio. People can see, they can visually see what you've accomplished, and you yourself can visually see what you've accomplished. And it, much like points, it gives you a visual representation of kind of, where you stand qualification wise, accomplishment wise, things along those lines. The purpose of badges, they are a symbol of achievement. They're a symbol of membership, and they provide a path for a personal challenge. And I can tell you personal experience, the first time I attended Construct, I was really inspired by all the different things that you can accomplish within CSI itself, the CDT, the CCCA, the CCPR, the specifier certification, the board of directors, leadership positions, volunteers. You kind of get that wow, I can go do that. So seeing that stuff long before they got the badges out for portfolios kind of gave me a little bit of a kick to accomplish some of those things. Leaderboards. Leaderboards are visual rankings, based on your success, and it much like points. Maybe you won't see on an individual basis like you will with points, but you can see where you stand compared to a group as a whole. The top, the bottom, the middle. As you achieve things, as you climb the ladder, you can see exactly where you are and where you stand, and it will give you an idea of the environment that you're currently in. So we've got points-based leaderboards, like the golf tournament leaderboard here off to the right. We've got chart-based leaderboards, and much like everything else we've talked about here with the gamification, it provides a source of motivation. People are motivated by different things. Some people are motivated by pictures. Some people are motivated by numbers. We're all different, but leaderboards are a source of motivation. So performance graphs. We can compare past, we can compare present, we can chart out projections into the future. So we have pie charts, bar charts, gauge charts, all these over here to the right. The top left there is the pie chart. You can see how maybe different divisions within your organization are performing, profitability on different types of projects and different aspects of your organization, your personal professional development. You can see where you compare to your individual goals, your organizational goals. The same way with the graph to the right. Maybe it's a little bit more easier for some people to see that in a graph than it is a pie chart. And then down at the bottom, the gauge chart, we've got happy, we've got sad. As that little speedometer needle moves back and forth, you can see as you accomplish things, which direction you're heading. So graphs, charts, they give you graphical feedback. Again, it provides a self evaluation. You can see exactly where you're at. You can look at performance over time, and they can show you areas where you need to focus for improvement. So stories. Now, this is one of the most difficult elements that I had trying to define. And Catherine saved my bacon Friday morning at that first presentation because these deal with a lot of narratives. And, it's kind of like somebody tells you a very inspiring story that makes you want to go out and do something. And I had a really, really hard time trying to come up with an example of this. So, Catherine, I'm going to steal it again. And
go for it.
Catherine is she's an animal lover, and she's very involved with some people out in her area. Do some work with some animal shelters, and she was involved with trying to help a local organization look at improving their facility or getting a new type of facility for animals in their organization. And Catherine was naturally drawn to that. So that story about her having a passion for animals and those people with that organization kind of brought her together and really attached her to making sure that, hey, you know what? I'm going to help these people. I'm going to help these people look out, make sure that, we're giving them the best that we can give them. We're not going to break their bank. This is a very important cause to me, and I'm going to make extra.
You're breaking up again, Mark.
Sure that things are done right, and she was just really motivated. It really wasn't even that much of an effort because she had that passion already there. I come to think back, we had I live in a community here in Ohio that a few years ago we had some development issues going around in the area where there was a lot of irresponsible development, and several heard about that. Because I care about where I live, I partnered with those homeowners associations and the other local officials, and being in this industry and knowing, what the right way to do things is, what the right responsible way to develop is. Worked with those people and put a lot of time and a lot of effort in. That really motivated me to get involved with those people and help them satisfy their needs and concerns, that their their property values and their interest in the community, that they were all protected. Again, it allows that identification with a purpose, and that's really what a story element of the game is. So sometimes you'll sometimes games tell a story, or that sense of purpose comes from
Mark, your sound is breaking up a little bit. So.
They can kind of okay, that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. Avatars, similar to badges, graphical identifiers, and they're not really related to any progress or achievement, but they kind of give you an individual identification. I was involved in a project a couple of years ago. We had a project team on site, anywhere from 40 to 60 people, and we were from all over the world. We had people from Ireland, we had people from America, Canada, Germany, Hungary. We had people from everywhere, including the United States. A lot of different people, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different interactions. And what we did to kind of get everybody acclimated to each other was everybody chose a personal avatar that kind of said something about them. And what that did was allow us to kind of like create our own identities, and it created a community. And you can create this community even within your teams and your applications within your organization by giving those folks an ability to identify with something that maybe is important to them. And by doing that, you will identify with that person's out. Well, that, safety first. Well, that person's probably related to the safety piece, or an engineer. The avatar up there at the top, probably a superintendent or a project manager. It gives you that sense of identity for the current application or the environment that you're in. And avatars, kind of be used with teams and teammates. Teammates, you can have game applications that have, you're performing as a team, where you assemble groups to achieve various objectives. We've got several teammates, especially in this day and world. We got real teammates. We're actually people to people. We have virtual, which I think we all, within the last year, understand what virtual teammates are like. We have a hand-picked group of people that maybe are hand-picked because of their ability or their contributions for a particular application. And then we have the randomly assigned group, which I find to be the most challenging, because that is the randomly assigned group. You have no idea what type of personalities you're mixing together. That one there can be a little bit dangerous. Teams foster collaboration, or at least that's the goal. To work toward a common goal, and talking about how to meld teams and get everybody on the same page and collaborate and get those teams to gel. That's a whole nother discussion that we could probably spend days talking about. But the whole aspect of using a team in a game application is to foster the collaboration amongst all the team members towards a common goal or objective. So those are the elements that make up games. And I think if you think of some of the aspects of actual games that you play, maybe homescapes, work with friends, you have the teams, you have the badges, you have the leaderboards, you've got all of those elements that we just talked about. If you think about it within your organization, maybe you have a project team that you work with on a particular project or as a particular duty of your organization for duties that everybody performs. All of those elements exist within organizations, and it's applying those elements with what we're going to talk about here, motivation and motivational theories, that will get us to the next topic about how we tie all this together. So I'm not going to go Dr. Phil here on motivation because we could talk forever, but I want to cover some basic motivation theories. So first of all, what is motivation? It's the driving force behind people's actions. It's why we do what we do. And motivation is important because it sets priorities, it clarifies goals, and it promotes perseverance because you know what you got to get done, you know what you got to meet, and then it promotes the perseverance because you know you have to get it done and you got to keep going. So there's three business theory of motivation. First off is Taylor's theory of scientific management, Mayo's theory of human resources, and Maslow and Herzberg's theory of human needs. So we're going to talk about each one of these real quick. Taylor's theory of scientific management, very, very early on. Source of motivation with motivated by money, and that's it, nothing else. Okay, most typically in this type of application, workers. Oh, Catherine, I stumbled a little bit there. I should be back. Workers typically don't enjoy their work, and they are only performing because they are rewarded with money. And one of the first people that tried this was Henry Ford. When he opened up his production facilities, he, thought people would just want to work for money. So he, the more work that they did, the more money they got, and it just, they didn't want to do anything outside of what they were doing. And there was just a real lack of motivation. Kind of think of back in the 80s with the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Guy gets up at 3 a.m. to go make the donuts, go make the donuts, go make the donuts. It's very monotonous. And that's one of the downfalls of Taylor's theory of scientific.
You're breaking up. Your sound is breaking up a little bit again, Mark.
Okay. There we go. Pop back on. Mayo's theory, they expanded on Taylor's, and they discovered that pay alone was not a motivator or sufficient motivator. They actually started to focus on social needs. Shocker, they believe their employees, if they were treated with perform better. Hey, shocker, right? But by demonstrating an interest in the individual, they found out that they performed at higher levels and they performed their best. The last one, which kind of combines both of these through experience, is Maslow and Herzberg's theory of human needs. And they believed that there were, psychological, physiological forces drive the human behavior. They developed 5 basic human needs from basic to high, and they believed that the better results stemmed from employers recognizing the needs of individual workers, and they varied the rewards. So we're going to look at these. And one question I got here, nobody needs to raise their hand. Which motivation theory best lends itself to the concept of gamification? So we've got Taylor, we've got, what was the other one? Oh, shoot, I forget. Sorry about that. But the answer is Maslow, because we tie all of the physiological and the physical needs together and focus on the aspect of the individual. So here are the 5 levels of Maslow's theory of human needs. Satisfying each level, starting from the bottom to the top, just like building constructing a building, we start with the foundation, we finish out, we top out at the roof. Satisfying each level leads to total fulfillment. So level 1, physiological. It's a basic need for human survival, right? Food, sleep, shelter, clothing. What do we do in this industry to give people those needs? We give them employment. They work for our design firms. They work for our engineering firms. They work for our contractors. So if you provide somebody with employment, with a job, that gives them a physiological need that they can physically survive. Level 2, safety. Now, working in construction, we have a different view on safety. It is at the heart of what we do every day. At least I hope it is for everybody. But within an organization, that safety is given to you by compensation for your abilities. They're giving you financial security. Your benefits are giving you health and wellness. And by providing safe work environment, whether it's within your office or out on the job site, wherever it may be, you are now, you're given your employment, and you're given that safety because you're paid for what you do, you're taken care of, and you feel safe when you go to work that you're not going to get hurt, and you're going to go home at the end of the day. The third level is love and belonging. This forms within an organization, just within, the organizational community, maybe your teams, your social groups, your interactions, all the different things that organizations do by maybe they're providing training, maybe they're providing organizational events where people are getting together. You build a sense of belonging. And so you have now, you have your spot in the organization, and you are working in a safe environment, and you have financial security, and you have your benefits, and you have all these people working around you that they like you, they understand you, they care about you, they meld with you, and you get that sense of understanding. You get that belonging feeling to a group, like you're part of something. So then you jump up, you build on top of that. Through all of that, you start to build more esteem. Okay, you have an appreciation for what you do. You have an appreciation for the organization you work with. You start to build more respect, not only for yourself, but for your peers and your others within your organization. And this can also lead to recognition, because as you build upon all these elements, you are now making yourself better. You can jump through your organization or climb the ladder through your organization. You become more proficient at what you're doing. You are, you're motivated to get your certifications. You're motivated to, be better at your job, move up through the organization. So now you have got a very, very strong foundation for when you finally do get to the top of Maslow's pyramid, that you have fully realized your potential. You have focused on your personal growth. You have maybe you have not fulfilled your potential, but you are continuing to fulfill it. And you have all of these elements within one person, and you have a very, very motivated person. So now that we have talked about elements of gaming, the motivational theory, before we get to the connection between these two, Catherine, is there any questions?
Sorry, I had myself muted.
That's okay.
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
We are keeping going and going
Right.
forward.
Okay. So now that we've talked about gamification, we've talked about the motivation elements. How do we tie all this together? Well, physiological needs, motivation for basic survival, gamification, stories, rules of the game. Okay, we've got safety, where we have the safe working environments, the security of an organization, and your livelihood. Gamification, we do this by performance and feedback. So Motivationally, we're giving you a safe work environment. We're giving security, and gamification. We're using graphs and feedback to show you how you're doing. How are you working towards your goals? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you going? Where should you be? You can see all that stuff, instant feedback, through the use of performance graphs and feedback. And I think where a lot of companies use this application is they use this in dashboards. You can use it as far as, from a human resource standpoint. You can use it for employee performance. You can also use it for project performance. You can see where your project is. Are we on track or for budget? Are we on track for schedule? Are we on track for construction? And on down the line. The love and the belonging, the companionship portion of the pyramid, motivation, theory, of a sense of community, a sense of belonging. In the gamification element, we're using the avatars and the teammates. Who that person is, or maybe something that identifies with them. Okay, I just beeped in and beeped out again. Our teammates, we've got the teammates that gel as we go through a project or go through an organizational application, learning what makes each other tick, learn belonging and companionship with the people that are around you. The esteem portion. Well, in the motivational theories, appreciation and recognition, awards, promotion, pay incentives, bonuses, and raises. Within a gamification, again, we're using the badges and the avatars. These are visual representations, whether your company is maybe putting them up on the company website saying, hey, this person did this or this person did that. They're using those visual representations to show people your accomplishments. And when people see your accomplishments, obviously they're probably naturally drawn to what you do, but it gives you a sense of accomplishment. It makes you feel proud. You feel good on the inside, translates to motivation within your organization and probably within your job. And then the self-actualization part of it, getting to the top of that pyramid, you realize your total fulfillment, you realize your potential. Gamifications, you use leaderboards and points to show that, because you can see exactly where you're at. And if you're that guy in second place that is 1 point behind the guy in front, so that is how gamification is connected to motivation. And organizations use those aspects through, dashboards, performance graphs, individual aspects to use that to translate to people so they can better themselves as they go along. Now, gamification within construction operations brings, a focus on operations within an organization is going to bring any challenge that organization is facing. It's going to bring it right to the forefront. And what area do you think represents the biggest organizational challenge to a construction organization? Profits and revenues, safety and health, or policies and procedures. And I got, when I posed this question in the presentation in 2019, got a very diverse group of answers. But the answer is actually B, safety and health. Provides the biggest operational challenge to construction organizations and really any organization within our industry. Why is that? Well, we have multiple subcontractors, we have multiple crafts, we have multiple parties involved in projects across the board. We are dealing with different organizations, people that work within organizations, some people that we don't. We may not all work in the same office, but we all got to work. We all got to work together. The complexity of OSHA CFR Part 1926. I don't recommend that you read it cover to cover. It's very boring, but it is very complex and very indicative of the difficulties that we deal with in our industry and how we need to be safe in what we do. And then lastly, the human factor. You know, we just have, you know, we know that whether you're designing, specifying, constructing, whatever you're doing in this industry, there's always going to be some type of human factor, whether it's one or two individuals, a single individual, a group of individuals. We're all going to be acting and working together. So the safety and health is the biggest challenge because it combines everybody into one big pot. You may not even be part of the same organization, but if you're part of a project, you're going to be in that pot with everybody else. So, you know, how's gamification helping to train workers to operate and operate more safely? Well, we have interactive training applications and games. SimCoach games, they're out of Pennsylvania. Great little tool. Look them up on your app store. They've got a lot of different things out there. SimCoach, they are a software and application developer. They make video games, simulations, virtual experiences. People are actually using this to enhance and train workforce development, not from so much as a worker safety standpoint. That's a whole different aspect of training. But we have different skill games, and I've played a few of these. I was on a project where we used some of these as we had a couple contests with folks on our operations and startup team. Skill games. They've got dig in. You can learn to play with excavators, reinforcers. If you want to learn about tie-in and set and rebar steel. Future construction managers is another really cool one where it poses you with just different situations and gives you background on the construction industry and decisions you need to make. Those skill games are great for cross-training. You know, people don't know maybe what an excavator person does or a steel reinforcer or a construction manager. They can go play with those things and they'll be able to see it. And you know, organizations that I've worked with, we found that cross-training motivates people a little better because they're more willing to work with people when they have a basic understanding of what they do and maybe some of the difficulties of that. Skill and career development applications. Construction crane rigging is another game that SimCoach has. Harness Hero, I love this. This can teach you about fall protection. It is given you you can develop, you can play teams, you can play individuals. This was the game that we used on my project. We did it for a month, and whoever had the most points at the end got an Amazon gift card for $100. But we had anywhere from 300 to 600 people working on this job site every day, and it was very, very important that we maintained fall protection as one of our huge safety focuses because there was so much stuff at height. This helped us keep people's minds on maintaining safe fall protection practices. And what this does is it gives you a random scenario where you have to pull out and pick your safety equipment. And then when you set all your stuff together and you hit go, it throws your person off the top of the building. And if you selected it correctly, you live. If you don't, you die. Unfortunately, there is for problem employees, you cannot throw your coworkers off the building. It's you only. So that's a really neat application that brings some motivation. It brings some training. We have people going for the $100, but we also strengthen their knowledge in the area of fall protection. Worker training. How are we using games to train workers? Did a case study a few years ago. There was a case study done in upstate New York with International Union of Operating Engineers, number 158. The objective of this union was to improve their worker training experiences. You get up in New York, you get some pretty rough winters, and when you're trying to learn to operate equipment, sometimes the weather cooperates and sometimes it doesn't. Classroom training is no substitute for hands-on training. So what they found was, the weather impacts, the equipment time versus classroom time was, the equipment time at times was next to none versus what everybody was in a classroom setting. And it just wasn't really productive. And nobody wanted to go to class 8 hours a day and read about how to operate a dozer. They wanted to go do it. Safety. The operators and training exposure to safety risks was a challenge, because when they were learning on live equipment, which can be very dangerous if you're learning how to do it and you don't have any application experience before. And then better human experience, kind of goes back to the whole classroom and actual physical getting on the piece of equipment and learning it. They found that their membership and their interest was dropping. After they went through this case study, they have increased their membership upwards of 4,000. Now, this was in 2019. I don't currently know what it is. So their solution to this was that they use CM Labs, which is out of Canada, their Vortex simulator. And I called Bill Gray, who's their training director, had a great conversation with him on what they learned from this and how they applied it. CM Labs is a Canada-based software development firm. They use simulation-based solutions to prepare skilled workers for operations. They do trucks and cranes simulators. They do lifting equipment, forklifts, lulls, excavating, earth moving equipment. CM Labs is, they've got over 1,000 simulators in practice, and they're in over 30 countries around the world. And if you see the pictures here on the right, the gentleman up on the right, he is in the crane simulator, which these are very similar to flight simulators that pilots use. They don't let pilots fly a 747 without doing some simulator training. And up in New York, they sure as heck don't let you operate a tower crane unless you've had some training. These folks can use these 3D training tools to learn the trade, to learn the operation, the safe operation of their equipment. The same way with John Deere down there at the bottom, they use the same thing for tractors and their industrial equipment. Real quick on the tower crane pack, they can learn top slewing tower cranes. They learn load charts. They learn blind lifts. They learn the fundamentals of safety. They learn it all right there before they even step foot on a real piece of equipment. With excavation work, all this is done on a simulator. Before they are cleared to start work. And what they found by doing this was it provided real-time feedback to these folks without putting them in, any real danger. It continually had their skills honed. No failures. Failures have no impact. So if you're on that crane simulator and you drop a load on the street, hey, no harm, no foul, right? You're not actually doing it where you would be putting people in danger. Gamification things that they use on these simulators, they can track operator performance. They can track learning curves. All that's done graphically. They can set it up to keep track of folks' progress. You can see where you are in relation to your other classmates and your abilities. And the other thing that this actually did is it decreased wear and tear on actual equipment. As you're learning to operate a heavy piece of equipment, you've got you're going to have mistakes. You're going to break stuff. And the downtime and repair cost drops significantly by using this type of application. Also, they're able to take these types of simulators, they take them to trade shows and vocational schools, promoting the industry, promoting the operators' aspects of their union and what they can do with equipment. People can go there, they can sit on it, they can physically, hey, you want to learn to operate a tower crane? Well, here, try this and, see what you think. Also, these types of simulators will offer certification for New York City tower crane operations, which is required within the city of New York. So, through all of this, through these simulators, we've got, they apply the badges, the avatars, as you rise through your completion, you can see where you, what you have accomplished compared to others, graphs, performance graphs, whether you're doing good, where improve, points, leaderboards. You can see how you are compared to overall individual goals, and you can also see how your teammates are doing too. So that's kind of the gamification aspect of is currently in our industry, and with the way that technology is these days, more of it's coming. So a real quick summary here, because I'm getting up on time. Maslow and Herzberg's theory of human needs focuses on the 5 motivating factors that fulfill human motivation. And combining the 7 elements of gamification with Maslow and Herzberg's theory bring gaming elements to our non-game environment, and those elements can provide us a source of motivation. Providing motivational tools to train workers is where gamification comes into operations. We've got the safety aspect where you can play Harness Pro. We've got the CM Labs aspect that provide, various sims for various pieces of equipment. We can increase worker safety through those simulators. We decrease the wear and tear on equipment, and we can also use it to extend outside interest in the industry, because we can physically give somebody the experience of what we're trying to get them interested to do. So only had an hour. I think construct, I had an hour and a half. I was able to go into a little bit more detail on things, but I obviously could not do all this information by myself. So here's several references and work through this very interesting topic. I think if you think what you do in your organizations, we have a lot of these tools in front of us now. We have dashboards, we have graphs. Hopefully now you have a little bit more understanding of how they can be used and how they are used, more than just pretty pictures. So Catherine, I know we're running up against time and I probably talked too long, but if there's any questions, I will be happy to answer anything that we've got.
Well, we don't have any questions, but I do have a comment from Dean, who is one of our members, who's also a professor. And I'm sorry, Dean, I can't remember which school you were with, but he says that they are using the Caterpillar simulators to stimulate interest in operating engineer courses and curriculum.
Oh, I know. I know. Yep. I know which Dean you're talking about.
Yes. So this has been a great presentation, and we are just about at our, Columbus State in Ohio. I'm sorry, Dean. My apologies. Yep. I know we've had this conversation. But yeah, it was a great presentation, and if anybody has any additional questions, I encourage you, Mark, I'm sure you would not mind if folks reached out to you.
Oh, absolutely.
And started some of those conversations.
Please do.
And you want to, if you can circle back to the beginning that had your contact information, sure, and maybe throw that up right back here, up on the screen so the folks can.
I had one more slide.
There you go. So I appreciate everybody coming today. I just want to tell you, if you haven't seen the email yet, mark this on your calendar. Our March 4th presentation is going to be a really good one on trauma-influenced design. And that's going to be a really great program that we're having brought to us from some of our friends in Denver who are doing some amazing work with that. So with that being said, it's just about time. So I am going to say, everybody have a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you all in March. And take it easy, stay safe, take care of you and yours, and keep your sense of humor and your common sense. All right, bye everybody. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.